Oh, it's Easter weekend. So I have Easter colored lights in the studio. I think, Dame, are those Easter colored lights, would you say?
Kind of flat colored Easter lights, but I can see what you're going for.
Yeah, I just needed a switch. I got sick of the gender reveal, blue and
Yeah.
pink. Dame, I've got a shocking story to start with today, but I wanted to start with something more important. A hello to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Good morning.
Big Rick Swink with the first greeting in the YouTube live stream chat. Impressive, because he's usually not first. Hello, Rick. Hello, Chris. Hello, Quincy. The spelling of Quincy's last name, it seems like a fun last name to say. Zickmund? You think that's right? Zickmund?
I mean, that's how I would pronounce it.
Zickmund.
Yeah.
You just go like Zickmund.
Quincy, if you want to put some phonetical spelling in there, we'd appreciate it.
I bet you the D is silent. Zickmund.
That could be.
Reverend Sarah Renfro, and of course, Andy, goddess of personal finance, we will call her. Dame, hello, Tom. Dame, I don't want to say picture this as I normally would.
Okay.
Because for your own good, you don't want to picture this. So let me just, okay. You've been to a gym.
Despite all appearances, yes, I have.
That's why I had to ask. And you've been to a gym locker room.
Yes.
And you've showered in the gym locker room?
Yes.
And you've gotten dressed in the gym locker room.
But it works better that way than just walking out naked.
Sure. So the why this works, because it's not great, but why it seems reasonably acceptable to shower, be nude, get changed with strangers is because you're all playing the same game, and the same game is you're all nude.
You're right.
Right. And so it is inherently not great, but it's like this unspoken brotherhood of, yeah, we're all in this together, but quite separately by definition.
Okay.
Tracking?
Yeah, totally.
This morning at the gym, I'm knee deep in the brotherhood. Wait, no.
Close enough. Moving on.
I'm there, and I'm getting out of the shower. And this is part of it. A plumber walks in the shower part, but the plumber's in his plumbing uniform. And it was like a violation of the brotherhood because everyone else has the same skin in the game, so to speak. And this fella has just got a toolbox, literally. And it seemed there was an imbalance of the stakes, if you will.
I got to think that guy might feel even more uncomfortable than everybody else who's naked.
Well, that was my question. And I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, so in this moment, eye contact made, by the way, who's more uncomfortable? The tradesman who's just doing his job, or the nude gym goer? Like, who's it worse for? And that's where I want to start today's personal finance program. Who had it worse?
Was there like an emergency, like some plumbing emergency that needed to be attended to immediately?
I don't know. This is also why this is unusual, because I've never been in one of those situations. It's just like a guy who doesn't work there, who's now there. And so, you know what I mean? It's like it's a weird, I'm not criticizing the gym, so to speak.
Do you think that guy gets hazard pay for going into an environment like that?
I mean, yeah, he's dodging all sorts of stuff, you know?
They would have made accommodations if it would have been in the ladies' locker room.
I thought about that too. I was like, well, that's an after hours thing.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, so that was the start of my day.
I'm shook.
Well, I've got nothing else to say because it only goes downhill from here. Dame, big Easter plans?
Gonna have a Easter brunch. It should be delicious. Lots of different choices at this place. Fantastic food. So looking forward to that, and then a little bit of family time after that.
A homemade brunch, or are you going somewhere?
No, we're going somewhere.
I am making the homemade brunch for my family because I am the extended family.
What's on the menu?
Well, you know what? ChatGPT helped me come up with the menu. Thanks for asking. Boy, this seems like a setup segment, but it really isn't. Okay, you ready for this? And I had it create the shopping list off the menu. So it's like the greatest thing ever.
Perfect.
Okay, so here's what we got. I'm doing bagel and lox, just like, people can grab the bagel, some cream cheese, some smoked salmon, a little thing there, because we got that going. And then I'm making like a feta, leek, asparagus, and pea frittata, like an egg dish,
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I'm from Speedway, Indiana, so technically I should be calling that a casserole.
Yeah.
But I live in Carmel now, so it's a frittata.
Blend in.
Run some bacon, of course. And then I'm doing like a spring chicken salad on croissants.
Ooh.
And so, and then some other little things here and there. But that's the long and short of it.
All right. Well, looks like we're changing plans. We're going to show up at your house.
Yeah. Did you do breakfast cocktails? Are you a breakfast cocktail fella?
I never have been.
Here's the thing. I don't mind a Bloody Mary like once every couple of years, but there's so much sodium. I'm an old man. I like swell up like a tick. Too much.
Yeah, if that's the problem with drinking in the morning, you're old. It's the sodium.
We had a what do we call those? Team offsite social event. Is that what yesterday was?
I think that's exactly what they call it.
I don't know. We went to this place where like golf simulators and everyone's sitting around having drinks and eating wings and things. Yeah, you know what? I'm socially awkward at these things.
Pete, you're kind of socially awkward everywhere.
No, in our office, I walk out, everyone's there. I'm like, hello, workers. Like, I'm not awkward. But in like off-site, I get weird.
I guess it's just a gift for you.
I don't know. Molly was trying to psychoanalyze me this morning.
Was there any contests, any like a long drive contest or anything?
Yeah, Jeremy and Doug were in love. I mean, yeah, we got a bunch of golfers and things.
Okay.
All right, Dame. So, hello, Brian Pinkins. Good to be with you. Dame, I love today's topic a lot.
Looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be good.
I think it's really interesting because it's a question that isn't asked enough. And honestly, despite the fact that I'm definitely trying to build assets and I don't want to say build wealth because I hate the phrase build wealth, even though I'm supposed to be in the build wealth business.
Sure.
What we're talking about today is my personal strategy of financial independence.
Yeah. I mean, you've actually kind of built some of the bigger ideas in our business around this concept.
So I'm excited to talk about it. And it's weird. We're talking about not needing money, like the quest to not need money and what that looks like in different stages of your life. And the funny part is what we all have to, what I'm asking that we agree to do here, Dame, and I know you're not going to break this rule, is, well, the way to not need money is to have a bunch of money. Like, I don't want to do that because I think that defeats the purpose. I believe that the middle class in America, however you might define it or believe it to be significant or not, their chance at actual financial dependence comes from not needing money instead of having money.
Yeah. No, I think that's entirely possible. We talk about that all the time. There's two real ways to retire successfully. One is having a ton of money and the other is not needing much money. And for the vast majority of people, they're going to fall into the not needing much money category.
Before we get too serious here in the show, Jeremy does bring up a question that I myself thought as, would you feel different if the plumber was naked standing there with the toolbox? So Dame, to the question, that's an interesting question because originally the question was, who felt more awkward? The showerers, the nude showerers, or just the plumber who's just out, could have been at a Chipotle that day doing a backup, but it was at a gym. How would that have affected that if the plumber himself had said, when in Rome, and strip down to a toga.
I think the absurdity of the situation would have distracted me from the uncomfortableness of both people being naked or me being naked while somebody's doing manual labor. I think that's it probably would have helped through distraction.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not even doing a bit at this point. Like, I honestly feel like I would have felt better about the situation if he dropped trowel and was just doing what he was doing with the tools in his hand, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right. You know, on the drive here, which was 1 minute from the gym to our office, I thought, should I talk about this today? Then they thought, yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's another question for you. If our beloved co-host Kristen were here today, she's off.
Mhm.
Would I have brought this up?
Yes. Yeah, I think you would have.
I would. I don't know. I don't know because I'm like, I don't want to.
Well, yeah.
Keeping you out and lots of listeners, I'm okay with. But creeping out a female colleague on record feels like a bad idea.
I mean, what do you think the chances are that she's typed and erased 3 different responses to put in chat right now?
She's not watching.
I don't know.
I guarantee she's not. She's got too much on her hands, man.
She needs a
Stripping
break.
70s wallpaper off of an entire farmhouse.
She's been working a lot. I think she probably needs a break, and then she's maybe exactly what the doctor ordered.
Let's do a radio show.
Okay.
By the way, I hate to do this. Kind of hate to do this. Can y'all smash that like button and subscribe?
I can't.
Dane, one of my favorite things in the world is to make you laugh.
That was a good one. That was great.
Because I have to surprise you. I like if we're just going and we're doing funny the conversation, like you can keep it, but I have to surprise you with something for you to laugh.
I laugh at your stuff all the time. Now you can determine whether or not you think it's a polite, appropriate laugh just to kind of keep the vibe right, or if it's a genuinely felt laugh. That's up to you.
Yeah,
but
no judgment.
That was great.
Okay, ready to go?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what happens. Sometimes we answer your email here on this radio network, this here syndicated radio show. Sometimes we don't. But today, we're asking our own questions. I said we, and I'm not playing a Nintendo video game system. I'm talking about Damian Andrew Dunn, Principal Financial Guide at Your Moneyline. Hello, Dame.
Hello, Pete.
Kristen is off today. We'll return next week, so I'm told.
Do you remember Kristen's middle name before you back yourself into that corner? Try that again.
Marie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well done.
Dame, you and I were talking about the show this week, and we arrived at, and you put it into the sort of the best way possible. What does not needing money look like at different stages of your life? I believe, both personally and collectively as a middle class, that not needing money should be the goal for most people, as opposed to somehow accumulating a lot of money. Dane, before we go too much further, help people understand why that's an important distinction of not needing money versus, well, actually the better thing to do is to have money. Can you help us understand that?
Not needing a lot of money is inherently more achievable for most of us going forward. So if we are looking at the big picture stuff, we're not saying that by not needing a lot of money, we're going to downplay the role and the significance and importance of having good savings habits, preparing for, whatever it's a short-term, long-term, mid-term goal, emergency funds, anything like that. What we're saying is if you can decrease your dependence on your income as you're going through life, going through the different phases and transitions of your life, it's going to do a few things. One, provide you way more stability in your day-to-day financial life. Two, it's also going to allow you to take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves, because you don't have every dollar already allocated to something else. So if you can live a life where you have options and stability in your financial life, as you are in the accumulation stage of your financial life, by the time you get to the distribution phase of retirement of your life, that's retirement, things are going to look so, so solid. If you've already conditioned yourself to not need a lot of money by that point in your life, you're going to have a really high chance of a successful retirement.
Dane, we got 3 segments to handle this today, this being one of them. And in the 4th segment, of course, we've got the biggest waste of money of the week and the news. Here's how we're breaking this down. Segment number 1, we're talking about childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
Segment 2, we're talking about early to mid adulthood. And then segment 3, pre-retirement into retirement. Okay, Dame, I think for this conversation, one of the interesting ways to handle it is to try to remove income as a factor in any of this, just to simply look at what your needs, expenses, and obligations are, and just really try to really ignore income, right? Just like say, it doesn't matter what your income is at this time. We're just looking at the rolling ball of moss that is obligations.
Okay? Sure. Yeah.
Great. Childhood. You don't have expenses. You don't.
No. Well, you do, but you don't. You don't have expenses that you are personally responsible for. Anytime you get an allowance or that first job that you get where you go out and do some labor, get paid for it, it feels more like extra money at that point, because somebody else is picking up the ticket for all the expensive stuff in your life. So you have this cash, you can go out and do whatever you want with it. Hopefully your parents are trying to ingrain some good financial habits along the way and teach you about saving and spending and maybe some charitable giving along the way as well. But at that point, anything that you get is kind of like extra money.
Yeah. Another way to say that, I think, too, is like a lemonade stand. Like my kids loved lemonade stands. I love doing it with them. It was a lot of fun. And they'd always make some ridiculous amount of money because relatives would show up and throw a 20 in there or whatever. There really is no obligation created in that moment. All that's created is an expense, right? So if you break down, every expense is an obligation, every obligation expense, but they're still somehow different. If you look at it this way, they didn't create an ongoing obligation. They just created an expense, a pleasure spend, probably not a need to spend. And then they start getting, or we start getting to 16.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I believe for a lot of families, an obligation can start to develop. I've got a 16-year-old in June 10th. Stay off the roads, y'all. She will be out there driving on her own. Currently, she is driving us around, scaring us senseless with her roundabout prowess or lack thereof, hitting them at 40, hitting them at 40 miles an hour.
Well, if you have a car that handles, that's just fun.
Yeah, well, she doesn't. Anyway, the obligations then begin. For the first time ever, my daughter will personally need money because she will have obligations in the form of gas for her car and some semblance of the insurance for her car. That's the way our family does it. I'm not making recommendations. I'm out of the how to parent your child game recommendations because I've always got out over my skis on that. Dame, so obligations for a lot of people started driving.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, you could argue that signing up for a cell phone plan for your kids if they're younger than that would potentially create an obligation if that's how you choose to do it. But then I think there's a potential fine line with some kinds of subscriptions, online subscriptions, if you let them sign up for some stuff, maybe there. But the big one, I think you nailed it, is going to be that car and whatever responsibilities you decide to let them partake in.
I also think that opens up a really strange door into the world of lifestyle. Okay. So I will harken back to when I was a teen and got my first horse and buggy. Dame, very quickly, you can set a lifestyle as a teen with money, whether it is you go on a date, and a date means you go have dinner at Applebee's because that's where you go when you're a teen. And then you maybe go see a movie. And in that night, you have spent $60, maybe. I don't know. Nothing like saying, I don't know what these things cost. I'm very down to earth. I'm very down to earth. But I'm saying, like, I'm trying to go back to 1995 or whatever.
Right. Yep.
$60. Okay. So $60 a weekend takes you about $250 a month. And so at that point in time, is your lifestyle one that needs $250 a month? Is that what we're talking about? Is this a $3,000 income need lifestyle or life based on that lifestyle?
Yeah, your preferred lifestyle. I mean, again, there are other things that you could now loop into that or lump into that calculation that we probably haven't accounted for or wouldn't even realize that we need to account for just yet. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. If that's what you want to do and those are your obligations, then yeah, you got to figure out how to come up with around $3,000 a year to make that happen.
So if the premise of the entire show is what stages of your life does not needing money look like, the only money that person needs at that stage, theoretically, under the example we gave, would be the fuel and the insurance cost. The rest are sort of, I wouldn't call them unforced errors, but I would certainly call them choices.
Sure. You need money to be able to get to work to make the money. And then you also need the cash to have whatever social life, whatever your social life costs you.
So what we're going to do after the break, we are going to come back and we're going to talk about, we are actually going to fast forward through college, and we're just going to go first working year. College, it just depends. First working year and where things go off the rail immediately, because a young person out of college or starting the working career needs so much money. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. All right. Let's see. Eric says, I doubt it's pronounced E-Rich, like in, he's a guy named Rich that just deals in electronics. He's E-Rich, but it's probably Eric.
Yeah, I got you.
Look, I'll tell you this. If your name is spelled Eric with a CH, and then someone points it out in any regard, you're pretty annoyed with that person.
Probably the last time we see E-Rich on this stream.
I like to have a good time. I know a guy named Todd with one D.
Really?
Yeah. And the first time getting to know Todd with one D, and I said, oh, Eric, it's a German spelling. So now I've insulted an entire culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Pete the Planner Show. So I say to Todd with one D, probably the second time I saw him, I was like, Todd with one D, what's up, buddy? Something like that. And he was not amused. Or he shouldn't have been amused. I mean, like, right, I'm not that needy. I'm just playing loose.
Did he know who, like, did he have a feel for who you really were at that point? Like, what was being brought to the table?
That's such a great question. In LA, I get the spirit of the question. Just understand that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not who am I, but he knows I'm a goofball.
Right. That's why
he knew I was a goofball.
Okay.
Yeah, like when I think, do people know what that actually means for me is like, do they know you're an idiot? Right?
I clearly wouldn't have used those words.
Why?
I mean, I think I've told you this multiple times, but prior to working here, I can count the number of people that ever called me Dame on one hand.
Yeah.
And now that's pretty much what everybody refers to me as.
And I'm sorry about that.
It's all right.
Is it okay?
It's what my name is on Slack. It's what my name is here in the little chat thing. It's just I've acclimated to it. It's fine. I think it might lose a little bit as we cross into that age 50 and beyond barrier. I don't know how that's really all that I don't know. Does it seem weird to have a 50-year-old guy named Dame?
Wait till I'm a 70-year-old Pete the Planner.
We'd be planning different stuff at 70.
Yeah, I'm just planning how quickly I can get to the restroom because my bladders. Anyway, I'm unfortunately, I am self-aware. I'm a nickname I've been assigning nicknames to people I know since I was in elementary school, and I know how heinously obnoxious that is. I do. I can't stop. I can't stop. My son's soccer team. I'm naming people like, and then they stick, and then it's like, it's obnoxious. It's like one of those qualities. If I wrote down a list of 10 things that I don't like about myself, they would be probably number 9.
Do you ever check yourself right before you say a nickname, and it was like you're getting ready to just let one go, and it's like, oh, probably shouldn't say that.
Occasionally,
Yeah.
maybe with age, I've gotten there, but I saw this joke on the internet once of like, there's nothing more annoying than being at a cookout and eating a hamburger and someone's there who's the nickname guy. And then because then you turn into Mr. Hamburger for the rest of your life. And it's like, that's the danger of being an idiot.
Yeah, but I mean, the good news is you've got some you've got plenty of wit. You've got some idea of what's going on around you, so some social awareness, and I don't think you would do that very often. Come up with a horrible nickname for somebody.
We did have we have our team have various get to know you sort of things, and we for some departments we do how to work well with me documents, like so people know your style. One person understandably randomly expressed, I don't like nicknames. This was like preemptive back in the day, and I have steered very clear of giving that person a nickname, and they didn't even know, I don't think, that I'm a nickname fella, but I'm glad I know.
Yeah. There was a former colleague of ours. One day, it finally struck me because we were talking about how the exact situation where nobody called me Dame. And I was like, what about you? And they're like, yeah, I don't care for that. I'd rather be called by my real name. I was like, oh, I've known you for multiple years at this point, and I've been insulting you this whole time just because I thought that's what you like to be called.
Anyway, let's continue with the show as I anger all those around me in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Happy Easter weekend. Yay. Dame, favorite Easter candy. Ooh, I know post-COVID, peanut butter and you don't get along as much as you used to.
It's still peanut butter eggs, still Reese's eggs. I will try them for the rest of my life to see if they ever come back to the flavor that I remember them being multiple years ago. And it's getting better. It's not back to what it was, but I am acquiring more of a taste for peanut butter again.
They are a superior candy, especially when in the freezer. And I would like to note, as in my current quest for health and fitness, I have not had a single Reese's peanut butter egg this Easter season.
That's a shame.
It is, but Anyway, Dame, talking about a really important question today here on the Pete the Planner show. What does not needing money look like at different stages of your life? Our belief, collective belief, company belief, is that the goal should be to limit obligations, especially increasing number of obligations as you age and go through stages of your life, so that when you get to a period of time in which your income changes, because it typically does, and it usually changes down, that you're prepared for that. So Dame, first segment, we talked about childhood, young teens. Now we're talking about first year in the workforce. Let's just hit that, whether it's right out of high school, after college, grad school, no one cares. First year in the workforce, Dame, how does a need for money change in that moment?
It's just so many things. You've got to go out and buy to get established, or commit to get established at that point, whether that's furniture, whether that's plates, silverware, who knows, what it takes to get on your feet, and you feel like you're playing catch up, and you've got to use all this cash from your first real paychecks to make this happen. And I think one of the biggest problems that we run into is you may not need as much money as you think you do, but you need a lot less comparison for everything else that's going around. Whether it's people that are, a few years older than you, whether you're comparing yourself to your parents' lifestyle that they've taken decades to establish at that point, you can't get lost in the comparison because you can't afford that. if we're being perfectly blunt, you can't afford that. You've got to go out and get what you need for what you can afford, and then make that work for, well, as long as you care to make that work. And hopefully you don't rush into other obligations at that point.
We are getting into new working adult season here
Mm.
on the calendar. And Dame, you just made one of my favorite points, which is if you are starting your life as a working adult and you try to emulate your life as an adolescent in an upper middle class family or higher,
Mhm.
you're toast.
Yes.
You're toast. And the other side of that too, I mean, you've been to the mall and seen like a parent shopping with a young adult to furnish their home. It's that pressure and the expectations that the parents set to have a parallel lifestyle that is absolutely wrecking. And it ends up preventing people from saving the right for amount for retirement, the right amount for a down payment for a home, all of these things. And it's all based on trying to emulate the same lifestyle that you had when your parents were in their prime earning years when you were a late teen.
Yeah, if you can maintain the mentality of a poor college student for the first 3 to 5 years of your working life, you're gonna be in such better shape than most of your colleagues that you won't even be able to believe it at that beyond that, you're gonna be in a much more stable financial place with, options and flexibility that they probably won't have.
I would say there are two periods, and I'm curious how you think about this. There are two periods of time on which I believe a person, three periods of time in which a person needs a lot of money. Okay. They need a lot of money. It is this, if we're being realistic, it's this establishment time period.
Mhm.
Like, so that's one. And we're going to get to the other two probably in this segment, or at least one of them. Young kids, when you get into the daycare years and those things, and then teen kids. Like those three periods, you need a lot of money. You just do. Like, Dame, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm curious, if done perfectly, which is impossible, how long do you think a person can really stay focused on not increasing obligations as they start their adult financial life? How
Boy,
long? Because 3 to 5, you said. I was thinking 2, 3 to 5's possibly ideal, but I just don't see people doing that.
oh, I don't see people doing that either. I'm telling you, what would be ideal. I think if you can make it 2 years, you're doing pretty darn well. There are some people that absolutely will be able to pull off 3 to 5 years because that's just how they're wired. Maybe they grew up in a very frugal household where that's the expectation that was set. I've talked to a number of people over the years that have an incredible margin in their month-to-month finances fresh out of college because they just aren't going to set themselves up to need a lot of money, and they've got other financial priorities, whether it's paying down student loans, whether it's making sure that they're saving for retirement or a down payment on a house or whatever else it is, a wedding potentially, that they know that they're going to live a leaner lifestyle. For most of us, because we're tapped into the mothership and we're just force fed all of these images of things that we're told we need, whether we do or not, is going to move the needle for us, whether we realize it or not. And it's going to drive consumerism in our life at some point. So if you can hold out and live a very financially responsible life for the first couple of years out of college, you are doing very, very well.
Personal finance goddess Andy, who listens on Facebook Live, the live stream, which we do Fridays at 10 a.m. Join the peer pressure. I don't.
Social media.
She notes regarding household stuff, there can be a big difference between single and married. The registry can help get you some really good stuff early. Dame, I got married. I graduated in June from Hanover College in the year of 2000. In July, I owned a home and was married.
Wow. I mean, it's hard for me to really say anything against that because Mrs. Advice graduated from the University of Notre Dame in June and was married later in June.
What was his name?
I don't remember that guy.
Okay, no, okay. So the thing about this is that Andy's right. That made my life so much easier to start.
Yeah.
And you know, the most meaningful thing, of course, you get on a bridal registry. I believe we got a silver tea set, which really was a really meaningful and useful, practical item.
That fondue pot.
Oh yeah. So Dame, let me ask you this. There's nothing better in many aspects than discovering the finer things in life, if you will, right? And that can mean all sorts of stuff. Driving a nice car, having a good glass of wine, eating a good piece of beef. I don't know, whatever you got. I feel like part of your younger 20s is this period of discovery that can create a lot of obligations, but then at the same time, possibly stoke ambition and hard work. So we're not trying to take that away.
No, man, those years are so great. Just being able to go out and experience and meet people who can show you different things you weren't aware of. And the thing that I think you need to make sure you have to do, and you have to do this for yourself, is you have to define what enough is. Because if you don't, the world's always going to tell you that it's more. So if you can't say, all right, this is great, I'm going to chase this, I enjoyed it, I know what I can do with this. But if you let somebody else dictate what you should be doing, that's where problems are going to start to occur.
Coming up after the break, here's what we're going to do. When the obligations start gathering and they don't stop, we're going to talk about how that affects you as a working person and how, by God, it affects you as a retiree. That's all next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Dame, I am now... When I start working out, not March 1st, right? It couldn't have been.
I don't think so. I think it was before
February.
Yeah.
I'm February, March, April. Yeah, I'm finishing my third month of de-chin, the de-chinning of Pete. It's going pretty good. I mean, the chin's still kind of there a little bit, but I feel a lot better. Working out 5 days a week now.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah.
I hate to say, we're getting to that age where we can get in better shape, but some things are just going to stick with us for the rest of our lives.
Like hair loss,
chins.
Oh, chins. All right. Latin League soccer final this evening. Young Theodore. It's a big deal. The Latin League is a big deal. Soccer, indoor soccer final tonight. So we'll see what happens.
Did he draw up the game plan and the shifts and substitutions, and he's got everything ready to go?
Oh, he is not the coach, so he will just be planted firmly in the midfield.
I happen to remember a particular trip to, I believe it was St. Louis, where
that's different.
Coach either. You were, but he told you what to do.
Yeah, no, this is actually real. Oh. This is not some fantasy thing. So anyway, it'll be exciting.
Well, good luck to young Theodore.
I'll let you know, because I know otherwise you won't be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah. Send me FaceTime me. That'd be great.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I should from the place just so you get a feel.
I bet it's awesome.
It is incredible. All right, let's come back with I just dragged my feet through that, so that's my bad. Let's get through young kids, older kids, and then we got to get into which actually, man, I blew it. I just really dragged my feet
because we have to get to retirement.
Pre-retirement is actually
okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right.
I blew it. It's on me. Is anybody listening to the
Comcast?
Have you listened to
Comcast?
I listened to the last one you just did. Yeah.
I thought so. Again, whatever. We're doing it. I think we talked about consumer confidence yesterday on the
Comcast,
and I hadn't really put into words how I feel about consumer confidence in a long time. And when I was going through it, I was like, man, as I'm asking these three pertinent questions of, do you think your income's going up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you should buy something big? And what's your general feeling about the near future of the economy? All three of them theoretically are negative answers. I'm not projecting, but that's my guess.
I was
At least
just
2 of the 3.
I was just trying to decipher if you were telling me not to expect much at my next annual review.
I'm not your boss.
Okay.
She's off this week. But I think about that. I'm like, is that not the ultimate leading indicator in a consumer-based economy where 66% of GDP is based on our spending?
Sure. Yeah. Those are 3 really, really good questions. And I'd be curious to know if people, especially big purchases, if they've either been accelerated or if they've just been taken off the books.
I want to read an opinion from Michael Hicks, if I may. Michael Hicks is a professor of economics at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. He is, I've known him forever. We should have him on the show. He's pretty great.
Nice.
Here's some comments he made yesterday. And I'm curious, Dame, as a non-economist, skeptical or otherwise, as Chris would say. He said, Atlanta Federal Reserve GDP Now estimate just released its first quarter estimates for GDP growth.
Okay.
Minus 2.19%. Okay, those are the early estimates. Okay, so that is contraction.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And then back to his thoughts. I think that's lower than what we'll see from the preliminary numbers in the next 2 weeks, but recent economic activity, specifically in March and April, are more than consistent with a recession. So let's decipher that. He's basically saying he doesn't think we're going to be at minus 2%. He thinks we'll be a little better than that. However, recency bias or recency data suggests that March and April, March specifically, is probably what it made it bad. And then starting April, the second quarter, is also going to start bad. I've had dozens of conversations with academic economists over the last month. 100% say recession, March 1 to May 1 start date. Interesting. Likely prolonged, followed by stagnant growth. Okay, so that means contraction for a couple quarters or more.
Mm-hmm.
And then no growth, no contraction, just flat.
Yeah.
Commercial forecasters are more restrained. Mark my words, the change, this will lead to that will change in a cascade. Some event, whether it's the labor market, preliminary GDP, which comes out in a couple weeks, or more likely a financial market shock, will cause nearly all of these commercial forecasters to call a recession at nearly the same time. No firm wants to get nasty truth social comments or a call from Besant, but it's coming. And I thought, so that last part is interesting. He's saying, like, if you're JP Morgan Chase or you're T. Rowe, you're a commercial forecaster, you're not an academic, you're going, oh, well, there's a 40% chance of, and whereas all the academics, which doesn't mean they're right, definitely doesn't mean they're right, are all at 100%, but the other ones are all like flailing. And he says it's because they don't want the ire in public attention from being told that that's against the White House's wishes. So I think that's a really interesting commentary from Professor Hicks.
I think it's interesting. I don't think it's terribly surprising. I don't know Professor at all. I don't know the group that he runs in. I would say that academics tend to skew towards a more liberal perspective, and there may be some bias in what they anticipate seeing based off of the policies of the administration that are being made and their personal views as well. Less academic, maybe a little bit more personal. 100% is hard to argue with in that case, but I don't know. I don't think it's unreasonable what they're saying. I do think the -2 is strong from the Atlanta Fed. I think we're gonna, based on absolutely nothing other than a gut, I think we're gonna be closer to flat for the first quarter, and then we'll start to see the pains in the second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, Eric mentions certainly there's been a demand pull in an attempt to circumvent tariffs. My guess is this will provide a nice GDP bump in the second quarter a valley of demand in Q3, Q4. That's the fun part. We all just get to sit back and be armchair economists.
Yeah.
I think we land somewhere around a negative 0.5% in the first quarter, and I think we'll be easily in that negative 3% in Q2. But whatever. Hey, we'll see.
Yeah.
Dave, maybe this is a topic for off the air.
We could talk about it now, though.
Have we done the third segment yet?
No.
Here, I have no. Okay, so I'll just set it up. Maybe it's another time, but I'll just put it out there. It's not as controversial as the one thing that Kristen wanted to talk about that we fortunately had to kibosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not coming out with a stance. This is not a hot take.
Okay.
It's interesting to see all of the funding pulled from the schools, the higher ed. You know, like, and again, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm really not. But it's shocking to learn how much money the federal government is giving higher ed. That's like been my takeaway so far. I'm absent my opinion of whether it's a good idea or a very, very, very bad idea. The biggest thing is like, wait, they get $2 billion? Why? How?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the interesting things, whatever you think about Elon Musk and Doge and some of these things, just uncovering some of these contracts, we all knew that government spent a ridiculous amount of money on certain things. You always heard like the $800 hammer for the military and stuff like that. But then just seeing some of the dollars that are awarded to certain contracts is kind of like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? It's not even a rounding error in a lot of the context of what we're doing, but you'd like to think that there are better decisions being made at a high level with the tax dollars that are collected from the citizens of this great country.
It requires a bit of a heady thought process because, again, I'm not saying their funding should be pulled per se, and specifically for the reasons it's being pulled. I'm saying, boy, who knew?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
I think that's man, it'd be really interesting just to see where all those dollars go. And I know, Senator Paul usually does one of these every year where he just says, hey, this is where your dollars are going to. And it's gotten less and less publication over the years that he's done it. But I think there would be a lot of eye-opening numbers and contracts that would be like, really, that's what we do? Can you help clue me in on why this is important and why that's a good use of our dollars? But
I do know a lot of it's research, and I have friends who work for research facilities and do a lot of important research, but it's just like, man, I didn't even know. Anyway, let's do our third segment in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, the show you listen to for all sorts of reasons. Damien Dunn joins me. Happy Easter.
Same to you.
Your take on Peeps. How many can you eat at one sitting?
0. They're disgusting.
They are gross, but I every couple years I'll have one.
I don't believe I've ever had more than one Peep in my life.
They are gross, but at this point at my age, like the sugar spike would not be good. Okay, Dame. We're talking about what's it look like to not need money at various stages of your life, and we've got a lot of generations and stages to hit in this segment because I've drug my feet through the first couple of segments. Number one, you need money when you got pre-elementary age students. The whole point is they're not students. You do. You got whether it's daycare expenses or all the equipment that comes with kids. You're hauling around packing plays and all this stuff. You got to look at that moment and you say, Dame, at that period in your life with young children, you officially need more money than you've ever needed before. True?
Yeah, I think so. Because there's the prep and then there's the, oh my gosh, I didn't realize we needed this stage that goes on for 16 years?
Now, the tough question is going to be, I'm going to sort of get it out to you so you can think about it while I continue to ask the question itself. This is impressive what I'm about to do. Once they're in school and sort of the daycare aspect of it kind of goes away, before they become teenagers, Dame, do we have a feeling as to whether a person needs more money during those elementary years than they needed in the preschool years, or do you think it could be flat?
I think it decreases a little bit because sure, kids going to grow and you're going to have to get new clothes way more often than you think you probably need to, but that's just how it goes. But there's less accoutrement that comes along with having a young elementary age kid versus that 0 to 5-year-old phase of life. So I think you actually save a little bit of cash once they get into school. Hopefully you redirect those dollars that you're spending on childcare towards something else. $5.29, no free ads, but $5.29. And then you start to prepare for that next really big expense phase of your life, which is
teen kids.
Yeah.
If you graft your need for money, like legitimate need for money minus lifestyle, from graduated from college, and you sort of just vertically on a graph represents the magnitude of money you need. It could, to your point, it could kind of dip in the elementary years, but boy, oh boy, does it spike with teens. It just does. There's so many possible expenses. Now, some of them are absolutely lifestyle choices, travel, sports, a third car for a kid to drive, or a second, whatever, how that works for your family. I'll just say this, Dame, and this is sort of one of the premises of the show today. In 6 years, I will not need the amount of money I need right now. And I've been planning this for so long. I'm in the danger zone. 47 to 53. 47 to 53. These are the most expensive years of my life, and I'm right in them. And then I won't need as much money. My mortgage will be paid off. My kids will be out of my proverbial hair. So Dame, that then makes me a pre-retiree at that point. And I think this is where people can make a massive difference. If you increase your lifestyle during pre-retirement, you're toast.
Yeah.
You're toast.
Yeah. You've just freed up a ton of cash from having kids and getting them off to school and hopefully not incurring, Parent Plus loans or anything like that. So now you've got cash that you haven't had for a long time. And if you create obligations for yourself at this stage of your life, you are setting yourself up to maintain those obligations well into retirement and increase the dependence on the dollars that you've managed to save all throughout your working career. So you are making your job of retiring successfully much harder at this stage.
You know what's tricky in this? It's not even the money you don't accumulate by increasing your lifestyle, right? So it's not even the foregone opportunity of accumulated savings, right? So Dame, what I'm saying is, like, let's say you increase your lifestyle as a pre-retiree, you come to the house, you're an empty nester, as they say. Sure, you're increasing your lifestyle, and in that same moment, you're not saving and accumulating money you could have saved. It's not the lack of accumulation that I think is the problem. I think it's the habit in this stage of your life that will lead to a more expensive retirement. Your lifestyle, through lifestyle creep, you knew it had to come up at some point today.
Sure.
That's the problem. It's like round numbers. No one cares. If I pay off my mortgage, let's say it's $2,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
And somehow that's a quarter of my income, whatever. Yeah. Then I only need, very round numbers, 75% of my working income as a retiree, because I've just eliminated something that represented 25% of my need. And if you fill that 25% with other stuff, other habits, other obligations that you can't easily shed, then you're toast. And that occupies so much space in my brain in a period of time right now that, Dame, I need so much money in my life right now. Being honest, I just do.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm 6 years away from not needing a lot of it. And so I will mess up my retirement if I blow it.
I mean, the temptation is real, though. I mean, goodness, you all of a sudden you see that checking account balance climb for like 3 or 4 straight months because you're not spending money on the stuff that you used to be spending money for. And you're like, time to treat myself and go do something. And we're not saying that you shouldn't go enjoy the fruits of your labor by any stretch, but just don't make your job harder on yourself at that point. So you go out and figure out what that new life is going to look like. And if you can practice being retired before you're actually retired, perfect scenario. Absolutely perfect scenario.
I wrote about it this week in my column for IBJ of this idea that when a very soon to be retired person will look at the income gap between their working years and what's available in retirement, and then it'll be like $1,000 or $1,500 delta that they're going to have to account for. They'll be like, yeah, we'll figure it out. But this is in most cases a person that has not budgeted for decades, respectfully, right? And that becomes the hard part of like, man, those last couple of years, you really should be shedding obligations. And I don't mean getting divorced. I mean, just shedding the sheer number of expenses that occur on your bank statement every month, just shedding them, not gathering them.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can successfully navigate that stage of life by dropping those obligations, man, those retirement assets look a lot more stable going forward. And times like these don't matter. Well, they don't keep you awake nearly as much at night as they might otherwise.
I'm just thinking about what even set this segment up of me being a better in 6 years is that I'd shed 2 obligations specifically.
Yeah.
They are children.
Yeah.
They're on their own.
Wow. Yeah.
Dame, is it fair to say the goal of an adult financial life should be, theoretically, to make the best use of your resources and provide for the stakeholders within your life? And that's one element of that. So number 2 is to ensure that you don't handcuff yourself to a higher level of income by the obligations that you haphazardly choose.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I mean, the better job you can do at that, the more you're going to be able to enjoy the life that surrounds you.
All right, let's do this. Everyone calm down. I don't know. We're doing biggest waste of money of the week. And the news right after this on the Pete the Planner Show, Easter weekend spectacular, right here on the Pete the Planner Radio Network, which is nothing. It's a made up phrase. There is no Pete the Planner Radio Network.
Wow.
Comcast.
Our producers can be really excited to hear about the new network.
Comcast. Welcome to Navigating Now, real talk for rocky times. A Pete the Planner Comcast.
We're just going to jump into a segment of this while we're recording.
I just like the vocals. I don't know why.
I thought about doing a Comcast in this voice.
I don't think that's going to hit quite where you wanted it to.
You don't think so? This is not calming. How about this?
Okay, everyone just relax.
We need to get you more voice options than just.
Well, I know, but the thing is, dude, I will never not love doing that. I'm just thinking, like, what if this show goes on for a long time? We're old, and I'm like,
hey, everybody, I just got my Social Security check.
I think I'll do it. My wife sometimes, she'll be like, are you still going to do these things when you're 70? And I'm like, I think so, because I can't not.
What if we just plan on recording this like once a month after we get to retirement?
I could be dead, though.
At retirement?
At some point, I'm dead.
Can I still call it the Pete the Planner Show just to get eyeballs on it?
In memoriam.
Yeah.
Yeah. To get eyeballs on it. Yeah, they'll be dead too. I got the demo on our audience. Okay. Well, at this point, I'm hurrying through because I go to the restroom. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner Show, is a cast iron dinosaur bottle opener. Take a bite out of your bottle top with this heavy duty T-Rex opener, not to be mistaken for the plastic dinosaur toys of your youth. This cast iron T-Rex is back from extinction and on the hunt for new prey. Bottle caps. With a bottle opener built into its teeth, you can easily crack a cold one without worrying it'll take your fingers too. This thing is far from alive, meaning it will look quite nice stationed on your shelf until it's needed. Next, Dame, how much for the cast iron dinosaur bottle opener, which for those that aren't viewing the live stream right now, if you're listening on the podcast, Dame is kind of cute.
I have a confession. I want this.
I want this too. This is, I gotta be honest, I'm doing this on the show this week because this is one of those not biggest wastes of money. It's probably a great use of money.
If it's under $50, I think I'm gonna have to buy it.
All right, Dame, I am sending you the link right now via Slack. It is 40 American dollars.
I
Look
will,
at that thing.
as soon as I get it, I will make sure I makes an appearance on, because this is amazing.
The image of what is being opened right now, Dame, for a bonus, what is that beverage, the specific brand name?
I have no idea what that is. I mean, it
You're
looks
kidding me.
no, I don't know. It looks like orange juice in a glass bottle.
Dame, this is one of the most iconic orange drinks ever, next to Orange Julius, of course.
I have no idea.
Orangina,
What?
or arguably pronounced Orangina, but I doubt that. It's Orangina. Look it up. Tap it into your Bing machine.
Sure.
You know what? I'm going to pull it up right now, and I'm going to share what Orangina looks like. Oh, it's 100% it. Okay, hold on a second. Radio listeners, podcast listeners, I have no interest in serving your needs right now. I'm serving the visual needs of my co-host, Mr. Damian Andrew Dunn of Northern Indiana. Dame, this is what an Orangina bottle looks like. That's the same thing. The same thing.
Thanks for making that plenty big for us with old eyes. Can actually see what's going on. Listeners who are on the live stream, Orangina? I mean, Dance has already said she's never heard of it. Anybody else? Is this just a caramel thing?
It's not a caramel thing. I learned about it when I was in Marion County. Dame, what's in the news this week?
Chinese TikTok influencers are urging U.S. shoppers to skip the middleman and buy, quote, luxury goods straight from Chinese factories, claiming many Western brands just repackage the same products and mark up the price. The push comes amid anxiety over President Trump's proposed 145% tariff on Chinese goods, but there's a catch because, of course, there is. Experts warn many of those so-called wholesalers aren't legit. What? Influencers might be just chasing their own commissions by promoting knockoffs. Some retailers like Lululemon have publicly denied any connection to factories mentioned in these videos. And in reality, if a factory truly produced high-end goods, it would almost certainly be bound by strict NDAs. Still, the hype is working. DHgate, a Chinese wholesale app, surged from number 352 in Apple's App Store to the number 2 free app in under a week, thanks to TikTokers promising factory direct luxury for less. Pete, there's so much in this that I don't know. I mean, is it possible? Of course it's possible that big manufacturers would use Chinese factories to make their stuff and then sell it, but it's also a huge possibility that these Chinese factories are just saying they're doing it and trying to get people to buy stuff directly from them. Where do you think reality lies in between those two possibilities?
Probably the latter, closer to the latter. That the manufacturers themselves are running an end round.
They're actually manufacturing those goods and they're just trying to circumvent the
retailer.
The retailer.
Yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah.
I have no earthly clue, but that's my take.
Yeah, I don't know. I could I could see it go both ways. I mean, if you're trying to tap into American consumerism, I mean, go straight to the source. You might as well skip if you can figure out the packaging and you don't have to do any of the marketing. Sure, mark it up a few cents, a few bucks for yourself, and make margins more than you ever have in your entire life.
It's you know, when you were in high school econ, and every once in a while an idea would resonate, and that idea got you thinking, and it got you going. You know, all you have to do is this.
Yeah.
This is one of those things. It's like when you learn about the middleman. You remember learning about the middleman?
Sure.
It feels like one of those things that my son's a 13-year-old. It feels like one of those things he'd come home from. Today we learned about middlemen. You know, like they learn these things, and you're like, you don't remember when you learned it, but it's like, oh yeah, just cut it out and actually take it down to wholesale price, which is your manufacturing price. Put a 10% margin on it as opposed to the 200% margin that the manufacturer or the retailer is, and then it circumvents the tariff.
But then it forces you to actually grapple with the realization that you are buying something for the logo and the branding in a lot of cases. Because like if you were to be able to buy the same Nike shoe direct from the factory, but the Nike logo was upside down, or it was like just a series of X's or something, are you still going to wear those? Or are you going to say, well, those are clearly knockoffs and I'm not going to buy that?
That's a good question. I think shoes are different than clothing. Like clothing, you could argue that the quality matters a little more. Most shoes, I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I'm just like, yeah. I mean, the what looks good about the Nikes, not because they're Nikes, but it's like the look of the Nike. But the second it's not a Nike, I don't know.
Like a Birkin bag. I mean,
I don't even know what that is?
Okay?
A lot of you gotta. Can you pan the camera there in your barn? Tell me how many Birkin bags are sitting there.
No, I'm not going to open myself up to somebody coming and stealing all my Birkins.
Dane, what else is in the news?
BlackRock's Larry Fink says that the U.S. might already be in a recession. J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon warns of, quote, considerable turbulence. And Kathy Wood predicts back-to-back quarters of negative GDP. Apparently, they've all been to the same hairdresser. Salon owners are reporting that young women are skipping appointments and opting for low-maintenance styles. One trending look on TikTok, the recession blonde, letting darker roots grow out to save on pricey touch-ups. It echoes the recession hair trend from 2008. Supporting signals, yeah, we got them. Google searches for press-on nails are up 10% since February. Now, alone, cheaper highlights and DIY nails aren't a crisis, but they are arriving alongside a historically low consumer sentiment. So if we zoom out, beauty habits often act as offbeat economic indicators. Women drive about 60% of general merchandise sales, and their spending dropped 1% in the 12 months ending in February. When the beauty budget tightens, it can be a sign the broader economy is starting to fray.
I mean, it's the consumer confidence, hair and nail data, right? Like it's a leading indicator. 1% down or 10? What do you say? 10% down or 1% less?
Only one, according to this, which seems almost insignificant at this point.
It doesn't even seem like a rounding error. How in the world? Interesting nonetheless. I don't know if I buy that one yet. I don't know. I also don't spend hundreds of dollars on my hair. I spend 3 minutes on a Sunday night rebalding myself.
Yeah, I would say this story obviously has nothing to do with us.
What else is the new last story?
Pete, I'm just going to summarize this. There's a story out there that according to Billboard, 60% of Coachella attendees this year used payment plans to finance their passes, up from just 18% in 2009. Initially, this was me saying like, I can't believe somebody would do that. But then I think about all the other stupid stuff that people finance. And this really, I don't know if this strikes me as a big of a deal as I thought it was initially.
Saw some video yesterday about the food of Coachella this year. And Dave, have you ever had Dave's Hot Chicken? Like the fast casual place, Dave's Hot Chicken? It's delicious. It was one of the most expensive items at the festival. $30 for a hot chicken sandwich.
Whoa.
$30.
Wow.
Anyway, hey, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Happy Easter. And here's what's in your basket. Good vibes, because that's all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the Pete the Planner Show. Smooth like a protein shake.
Well done.
The chins aren't like, here's the thing. I don't know if it's the angle or what. telling you, my chins feel like they're going away, but they look a little. I don't know. I think look a little bit thinner.
I think there's some unfortunate lighting going on right now, honestly.
All right. Dame, good luck with your life.
Thanks.
Everybody else, Kristen will be back to rescue us next week.
Yes.
Stay getting money.